Hey, this is Tiger. Welcome to my stream. There is a lot of things going a bit weird today because I actually destroyed my OBS configuration um, after trying to record some short videos, and I thought everything gets saved when I switch the profile, but apparently it did not. So is my logo still anywhere? Yes, my disclaimer is here. Is the game anywhere? So everything has to go on the fly. And I literally just returned 1 hour ago from a 10-hour trip on the railways of southwestern Germany. AJ, good evening to you. Akura, Moin, Spectre. Hey, good evening to you guys. And this is why I am doing a reality check video today, because this morning actually I traveled on the Pfälzische Ludwigsbahn between Neustadt and the Weinstraße, Kaiserslautern, and then back to Ludwigshafen and then Mannheim eventually, before I went home. This is where we are. Let's find the route and let's find a train that can actually get us from Kaiserslautern to Ludwigshafen. Did we play the 425 on this route? I don't know. Anyways, if we did it before, then we're doing it again. Mannheim to Schifferstadt, Ludwigshafen to Mannheim. Now I need a long one, Mannheim to Kaiserslautern. I need the other way around, Kaiserslautern to Mannheim, because this is what I did this morning. Yeah, why not? Just jump into it. I thought I will show you my pics that I took and what I was able to find out about some peculiarities that we had encountered on the route. Theodoros, hello to you. Nice to have you on the stream again. In the maybe the last Trains in World 5 stream, because Trains in World 6 is looming. They already sent out the keys to the ambassadors. I am sitting on them. Have not played much because I was not able to, did not have any time. But you will hear from me as soon as the embargo is lifted. Some nice news or good news about the Epic Game Store situation. By the way, you might have read it that Dovetail is actually working on a solution together with Epic, so that the Epic Game Store players, including myself, will get all the DLCs back eventually, and maybe find a solution that this does not happen again with the next release. That would be actually great. First of all, I will have to switch to Steam anyway, because it does not work that fast at any rate, but yeah. Platform 4, this is where I was standing like about 10 hours ago. Juniper, hey, it's the Tiger Ways, good evening all, yes. So nice to have you on the stream, even though there is no presentation today. Only, where's my SIFA? Only a reality check video starting at Kaiserslautern, maybe with the photo mode. And when I started in Landau in the Pfalz this morning and traveled here, I was looking at this signal here to take the first photo in the row, and it is always interesting to see places that you have never been before and recognize them immediately because you know it from the game. So, is there a difference between the game and the signal in real life? It looks quite close, I should say, right? Even this guy here appears not in this context. In the game we have this funny guy raising one hand into the air. We will see one on the other end of the platform later. And yeah, wasn't there something where I can move them? And I'm always impressed to see how big those signals are if you look at them in real time or in real life. How much material and how much craftsmanship goes into one single one of those signal thingies in. Yeah. Obviously, I was also looking at those trains and going with those trains. That's what it looks like in the game. What is that now? Why did it go back? Should not have gone back. If I switch it off, it goes back. Let us do that. Maybe it's just a setting here. Now I can do it properly. Those trains are not in the game actually. Different provider and different trains. Nevertheless, Kaiserslautern Hauptbahnhof with the football stadium in the background that we also have in the game. That was that shunting signal that we often get in the game, and I think you rarely see that in real life. Here, over there. Fritz-Walter Stadion in the game and in real life. Signal box is also there in the game. So it's actually more at the front end of platform 4 where I took this photo. What's the time setting of the trains in a world route? Yes, I had a little weekend trip, Juniper. It is actually like, what was it, the setting, the 2010 years or even earlier, I think 2010 or 12, something around that. So, real life in the game, the Red Devils of the Betzeberg. Yes, the Roten Teufel. And Juniper, yeah. I actually was in Rhineland-Palatinate for a birthday party last night. And when going home by train this morning, I thought I can do a little detour to Kaiserslautern, and this is what I did. And so I ended up like 10 hours on the road, and I just returned about 1 hour ago and threw in all the pictures and tried to get my streaming stuff running again. And yeah, so I am back. And this is what we're doing tonight. Just some relaxed looking at pictures, comparing it with real life. What there is in the game, what it looks like in real life. So this is this signal here in the game in real life, and in real life I managed to get it when my train, the train that I was traveling to Kaiserslautern, was actually shunted into the sidings, and then it got this position light signal, the SH1, together with the red light, the HP2, and the train actually shunted out of the station into the sidings. You can see that those lights actually stayed lit for a little while until the train had passed, and then they extinguished again. This guy actually lives there in real life. So here he is in the game. Here he is in real life. He says welcome and has a little poster on it. In the game he doesn't. Yo, again, stadium. Why did I take the pictures of those buffer blocks? Because I wanted to demonstrate that actually in real life the end signal on the buffer blocks, oh, here is no buffer block at all, is not necessarily always the same. Those are the two buffer blocks I think that I took the picture of, but now there's a train in front of it. Over there. Maybe. Yeah. Yeah, those two, this pair. Here you have the SH0 form signal. And sometimes you see the, what is it? SH2? Not sure about the code, but at any rate, this is the Gleisabschlusssignal Wärter Haltescheibe. Sometimes you get the buffer block with this red signal, sometimes with the other one. And here in the game, where this buffer block was, the buffer block is missing in the game, as it seems. Here's just no buffer block. They have a quite funny way of calling their tracks. There is track 1, 120, 4 to 10, 39 to 40 and 45. So it is not so easy to find your track on Kaiserslautern main station. Yeah, and this is the train that I left with. I circled it because they had Todd from Mario Kart in, or from the Mario world, in the train, sitting there as a mascot, obviously. And then we already went to Hochspeyer, and that's what we are going to do in the game now. Why don't rename the tracks to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Not entirely sure. They have tracks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but they have the other tracks as well. There must be a reason for it. But why they have so many weird names for the tracks, I did not try to figure it out yet. Where those tracks actually are, maybe down over here. Those bay tracks. Here is 120, for example. The others 121, 100. Yeah, I actually can figure it out in the game where all the other tracks are. 2, 3, 4. Must have something to do with how you can get there. Inspector says buffer blocks are overrated according to TTG. Well, in this case, they did not think it is necessary to have one. If everyone stops in time, we don't need a buffer block. So get this train moving, and maybe I can have a DLC marker. Ah, yeah. I thought I can figure it out with my DLC. But the point is, if I'm figuring out with my DLC marker, I am not in my game, and if I hit any keys, for example, like changing the power or releasing from my starting program, then it does not register. So back to my ill-fated DLC marker. To my ill-fated DLC marker, and it needs to be moved over there. So. And now can I actually go back to train driving properly? On some instrument lights. Here's already the 150. And Juniper says in my hometown was platform 1, 11, 111, 3, 6 and 9. Alright. The 111 is no longer. And Juniper, but I have encountered more often that the tracks in a different separate area of the station have a very different number from the rest. Yeah, that's true. So you know where to look. Munich Hauptbahnhof with a set of side tracks on the left. Yeah. That's correct. I think in a bigger station it actually makes sense if you have a separate area. It's just a bit funny because there are not that many tracks at all. And 3 different pods of tracks. So 140 is V max. That red light on the dash gives me 500 Hertz wipes. Here, that one. For the Notbremsunterdrückung. Yeah, we will have a stream about the different system of Notbremsunterdrückung. And on those types of EMUs, we typically have it lit as long as the system is active, and it extinguishes when we stop. And it lights again when we reach a certain speed. Juniper says, I have had to run a few times from arrival on the opposite side with a tight transfer to those tracks because they are quite far. In Munich, yeah, definitely. You arrive on one of the tracks with a very low number and you have to go over to the tracks where the Bayerische Oberlandbahn or so starts. That's quite a stretch. Obviously we're late a bit because of my blunderous start. Don't really need to slow down for the 100 because we're stopping at Hochspeyer anyway. Spectres is welcome to High Splitter Station, yeah. It's a weird name, isn't it? Hochspeyer. High Spitter, yes, is correct. I misread this too. Speyer is a quite colloquial term in German for vomiting. And hoch is obviously high. So this reminds you of someone who is vomiting up into the air with obviously not... Why did I only get 35 points? So my train turned around again to the wrong side. At any rate, which is not a good idea due to gravity, yes. As in Munich, they should build a walking tunnel under the tracks like in Frankfurt. Yeah, that would actually speed things up, definitely. Hochspeyer. It's not actually... I did not get off the train at Hochspeyer, so I only have those 3 images from looking out of the train. But it definitely gives you the vibes that we have in the game as well. Yeah, that would be... I would like this view in the game, in real life. To Osterburken this train goes. Interesting. I actually passed Osterburken on my travels this weekend, but I did not get off the train there. Because why would I? What would I want to do in Osterburken? So, again, starting program on. Why is the starting program on? Because I turned off PZB and started it again to see what is the problem. Why am I only getting 35 points even though all the safety systems are on? Now we're limited to 100. Now we're good. Theodore says the environment in the game always seems so clean. Yeah, we need the dust enhancement pack. When we will run into Neustadt and der Weinstraße later, then I will show you a sequence of pictures that I took earlier today. And it looks so ramshackle and so banged up. Those entry to Neustadt and der Weinstraße. Unfortunately, when I was going from Neustadt an der Weinstraße to Kaiserslautern, there was a historic train, but I couldn't take a picture because I had to run over to the other platform. So I did not even see what locomotive was on this train, but you can see those, yeah, Donnerbüchsen style passenger carriages. I think I have one picture here. Yes, that's more or less this area here. try to find this signal for the level crossing that does not flash here in the game, unfortunately, even though it should. But it is sometimes not so easy to catch the signals from the train that you are on, because the angle is typically much too unfortunate. I do quite like the grass on the tracks and the platforms. That is often not removed in Germany. True. Especially on the sidings, right? Can see how often the tracks are used by the amount of grass that is growing there. So unfortunately I did not slow down early enough to dodge. So we're not stopping here. Frankenstein. So I have to go into photo mode. This is how this building looks in the game. Nice and tidy and clean, and everything is where it is supposed to be. This is what it looks like in real life. So quite close, I think. There is no sign mounted to this building, and you can't find one of the achievement posters, but look, even the drain pipe is there in the game. Not this part that reaches over here, and this little roof in front of it. But all in all, that is quite a close resemblance, I should think. Frankenstein, here's the marker so that I know where we were. This is then the view in the opposite direction. Like down into that road a bit. Yeah. Also pretty close. Houses obviously are a bit different. But those railings, they definitely look like that. Do I have more pictures of Frankenstein? Yeah, this is then obviously this ruin that we will see when we are through the tunnel. Spectre, I checked deliberately to find out that weird piece of tunnel that there is here in the route, but in real life I couldn't find it for whatever reason. Here's that ruin. I was obviously trying to catch it from going out, or from taking a picture out of the window here. So here the train, and here the ruin. Did I take 3 of them? Yeah, to make sure that I got it. And then the next thing is already Weidenthal, and this is where we have to stop in the game. Profile pic versus real life meetup, says Theodorus. Yes. German Railways has to cut down on energy costs, tunnel lighting cancelled. Yep. Here's the 80. We are still monitored. Here's that piece of tunnel. It is not like this in real life, I can vouch for that. But it is a beautiful spot, this route here. Back to 90. Approaching Weidenthal. Yeah, we will get back to this. Is it already here? No, it is. I think when we're leaving Weidenthal. Well, I'm not entirely sure why they do it this way. There is a way to understand it so that it makes sense, but it is still a bit arcane. And it's a shame they do not use that classic German style house that is there in real life in that previous station. Yeah, I guess this is where it gets really difficult to always use the proper assets. I know I'm a bit too far, even though I braked vigorously in the end. Well, don't judge me for my driving today. I'm through a 10-hour train ride, so everything is a bit off the hook. Yeah, those churches actually look quite like this. They're always with this red brick style. Okay, close the doors. And then we will go to those funny arrows on the LF6 signs. Have you noticed the absence of station name signs here in the game, right? In real life they exist. Weidenthal. This is also Weidenthal, I think. And here is one of those arcane LF6 signs with the arrow. Unfortunately, I couldn't get a better picture of it. But it is proof that they are still there. "10 hours, wow, you must live really far away." No, it is just really difficult to move from east to west and vice versa between, yeah, well, Nuremberg and Stuttgart area, Karlsruhe. That is Regionalbahnen. It's a service by DB. Yeah, and well, I actually took a detour to get to Kaiserslautern, so without that detour it would have been like 6 or 7 hours, including the last mile on both ends. That makes it a bit more acceptable again, I should say. So I think here at this tunnel we have those funny signs, right? I was always pondering, how can it be that if you're on the left track you get an announcement of 90, if you go to the left, if you're on the right track, you get an announcement of 90 if you go to the right, even if there is, oh, how do I do that now? Even if you're looking at the, not that map, this map here. Even if there is not really any branch line branching off, right? But the explanation is this funny arrangement where you have a third line starting in between our two lines for left and right, and you can get there from both lines by going across a switch. So if you're approaching here from the right, go to this switch, going to the right, staying on your track would be why we get the arrow to the right and announcement for the 90. Whereas if you're going on the opposite track, staying on your track, going to the left at this switch will be the announcement for the 90 here. So those arrows more or less are for staying on the track and not going into this third track in the middle on the opposite side. The weird thing is here you get another LF6 for the middle track, and very shortly behind it you will get the LF7 that orders you to go 90. Why this signaling needs to be like this, I can't tell you. Because it is not like this on the other side, right? But this might be because here the speed is increasing and it's not decreasing. So we don't need that. We don't need an announcement for it. It still puzzles me why we need the arrows here. Because this is obviously not branching off, but staying on our predefined track. But I guess according to some planning rules, this is the way it needs to be done. Inspector says DB is not always late. Sometimes they take out trains to make the service more punctual. Just read it on the news. Yeah, they said that. But I have to say, all in all, I switched a lot of trains. I traveled on a lot of Regio trains and S-Bahnen over the weekend, and most of them were more or less punctual. Only the last one between Schwäbisch Hall and Nuremberg, no, not the last one, the second but the last one, was really late and really full, and no toilet worked, and that was a bit of an unpleasant experience to go there with Arberio, Baden-Württemberg on their trains there. Well, between Stuttgart and Nuremberg in this direction, even if you go on the IC, you're not really faster. But on the RE90, I think it was no fun today. So we're not stopping at, what was the last one? Weidenthal and Neidenfels or something like that. So, Juniper says, I can get from Amsterdam to Munich in less than, but yet to my surprise I see that there is no real fast track between Stuttgart and Nuremberg. There is either Frankfurt-Nuremberg or Stuttgart-Munich. That's the point. So you can get really fast to Frankfurt. But if you want to go into the southwest corner, Baden-Württemberg or Rhineland-Palatinate, then it takes you forever. And the birthday party that I was attending was in more or less the western patch of Germany, between Annweiler and Landau in the Pfalz. And trains and buses get really slow when you travel there, especially on the weekend. And then you need to switch services like 5 or 6 times to get there. And that slows us down everything. So Now we're getting closer to Neidenfels. This factory here on the left is actually quite active. I don't think I have a picture for it. But there was a lot of steam coming. Now we already are at Neidenfels here. Coming out of it, and there is also like a pipeline going next to the track and at one part over the track. I don't know if it is in the game actually. Oh yeah, the pipeline is there. So this pipeline actually exists and it follows the track until it passes over the track at some point, I think after the next tunnel. So yeah, cool, this pipeline is there. I did not really get a clear view on it from my train. But I wondered if it is in the game, and it, well, is at least for a part. But I did not show you because I had the pictures still on. So let's see where the pipeline is. Here it comes and goes over to this factory. Whatever they have in there, if this is just water or steam. And this thing here was steaming a lot when I passed it today. Inspect, yeah, that sounds very complicated and time consuming, yeah. On the other end, I had the time, so I went by bus to Landau in the Pfalz this morning, from there to Neustadt an der Weinstraße, from there to Kaiserslautern, and then back via Neustadt an der Weinstraße to Ludwigshafen. Then I switched trains and went to Mannheim, from Mannheim to Heilbronn, from Heilbronn to Schwäbisch Hall, from Schwäbisch Hall to Nürnberg, and from there back home. This is already Lambrecht. Theodorus says Western Germany seems pretty cramped up geographically speaking, kinda hard. Lot of factors to build to new dedicated IC line. Yeah, I think that is quite difficult. To put it in there somewhere. This, in my opinion, I think there are a lot of small and medium centers, unlike France, for example. True, very true. Oh, and using passenger and freight on the same line is a problem. And as it always is with Germany, you have so much of a network where everyone wants to travel in a different direction, crisscrossing with every kind of traffic. Unlike in other countries where you have more or less one main direction of travel and all the rest is branch lines. And in Germany you are in the center of Europe, in the center of everything, and so everything has to crisscross. Lambrecht. In the Pfalz, obviously. In Neidenfels in France, if you want to go southwest, southeast, you have to go via Paris. Yeah. But actually, France has a much bigger country to cover with the services. Theodorus, but if we have to traverse the existing line, well, yeah. What ended up happening is what we have now. Well, I think you can totally live with this. There is, at least at the moment, no real reason for me to go between Nuremberg and Stuttgart. And, oh yeah, I have some pictures for Lambrecht. Especially of this noisy little castle that they have there. Is it in the game at all? No. No. Where did it go? Lambrecht in der Pfalz. Should be this little castle. Like here. Behind the platform. Oh, well, castle is much said. Maybe it's a tower. And this is this bridge that we see in the game. I thought I can match the castle, but I can't. So, and now to Neustadt and der Weinstraße. We've traversed the Palatinate forest. CD radar using a new emote. Oh, and I'm speeding crazily beyond my 100. So nice to see ya. See you, CD radar. Welcome. Yeah, stutters. If you're doing one of the D0 classic services with the 642, they let you into Neustadt an der Weinstraße with a Vorsichtssignal. I set a 7, and just as in the Maintal Bahn, if you get a set a 7, the 3 yellow dots in a V shape on the red signal, the distance signal is dark. It also happens here with the 642 services. So we'll have to watch out what happens in Train Sim World 6. If something has been done according to this or not. Or if errors like this propagate through the instances and incarnations. Ayo, he says I still have to decide what to buy. And me too, says Spectre. I'll tell you when I had an opportunity to look at the deluxe locomotives. For me, it wouldn't... What did I miss now? Was there a signal that I did not operate? Or was it the dark signal for the Vorsichtssignal now? That I was talking about just 3 minutes before. Let's see if we're getting a Vorsichtssignal when we're funneled into Neustadt an der Weinstraße. I definitely did not see anything yellow, but maybe I did miss a dark signal, dark distance signal. Now it switched to a restricted 500 Hz, but it did not stop us. Yeah, I can see the Z7 coming up. So they are sending us in on a Vorsichtssignal. And probably this was why the distance signal was dark. Just as I said. Befehl 40, override button. And while I'm driving on site into the station, on site max 40, just want to direct your attention to this row of houses here to the left. Just to emphasize Theodorus's claim that in the game everything looks so pristine, and in real life it is banged up like there is no tomorrow. All nice and tidy. Since we're going on site, we actually have to check if the Sperrsignale are open. Before I run the train into place, let's check what that looks like in real life. Now this is the train, obviously, from the interior. And this is what it looks like when you're going into Neustadt an der Weinstraße in real life. And then finally comes this part, and then that newish parking garage. And here they have the Pfalzbahn Museum, and this is probably why they had this museum train out when I was running past it. Here it is not built yet. The most beautiful building is the parking. Yes. Now I'm getting like stutters again. Should maybe stop my train eventually before we run into the red Zugdeckungssignal here. And I guess this is the reason why we got the Vorsichtsignal on our home signal here. For this bridge I have some pictures too. Parking again. Here you can see this roof. This roof looks really quite similar to what it is in the game. Here it looks like a slide. And in real life it looks quite similar. Why did I take this picture? Because you can see when you're leaving towards Kaiserslautern, maybe it's a bit small here, is that you're actually started with this signal here being switched off by Kennlicht. And this here is a picture where I snuck a peek into the cab offer 628 train. So some of those services, and we have that in the game as well, are still operated by 628 units. I happen to be in one, and this is the rear cab. You can see in the window that there is a second unit coupled to it, and the guard was in this cab, and this is why the curtain was drawn. So I actually was able to sneak a peek into the cab, and it looks definitely like I would remember it from playing it on the Neidenfels, or here, for example. For instance, like if I manage actually to get in between here, then I might be able to get the same view that I have in the picture and here in the game, more or less. Like that in real life and in the game. And it is nice to look into that cap and to see what gauge is for what and what lever is for what. And it was obviously not active. As you can see, there is no reverser in it, but the speed clock and the brake gauges work as well, and you could actually check how the driver was braking and applying the brakes when approaching a station. So it was quite interesting. First time ever I saw one of those trains in real life. Nice thing about Neustadt and the Weinstraße is always that we have so much time and we can catch up for all the lost time. How do European folk rate the skyboxes in this game? Color accurate enough, need to be more gray, overcastish looks. Well, will be interesting what the others say to that, but I think it looks quite as you would expect it to look, because the color can switch between blue like this and more overcast, grayish within minutes, especially in a month like we have today, at the moment, end of September, October. So you can get either. My phone does not really catch this properly because there must be something. I think I got some moisture into parts of my phone when I was out with the horses. So I tend to get a bit of a milky overlay on the pictures that I take. And the fact is that I think in Time of day 3 and newer, it looks good. Yeah. I should say so. Actually, I wanted to get up here and maybe take a picture from this point of the museum train, but I did not get around to doing it. It's actually from the right here that you get to Neustadt an der Weinstraße if you're coming from Landau in the Pfalz. That's this connection here. There's a station or stop called Neustadt Süd, if I remember it correctly. So this is where I came into this DLC this morning at about 10 o'clock. Coming in not on a 628 but on a 642, I think it was. And then you leave for Ludwigshafen and Mannheim via this way. Oh, there is one of the mint-colored 628s. What was actually nice when we were going out this way, here and in this yard, there were like 3 V60s, 2 blue ones, one with this Orientrot, with this darker red color. And for Spectre there was a 187. But I guess in real life you don't have any problem with the tracks tree. But it was on the wrong side of the train, so I did not take any pictures of them. Alright, Pickwits from internet sometimes looks like the sky is always in overcast mode. Yeah, so from my experience it can really switch super fast from overcast grayish to bright blue sky with sun and brilliant white colors in clouds. So, now for the fast part. It's not even a Zugdeckungssignal. It is a full-blown protection signal, giving us SH1 as we leave. We're leaving with 40, alright, then we're leaving with 40. And during the process, I think it is great that the weather can change over the run, yeah, definitely. And this is what it happens in real life, quite fast. Now the 628 is leaving with us. We're not going to Neustadt Süd. To Landau and eventually Karlsruhe will be at the other end of this line. At least if you take the lines that I was traveling on. I never know where the Weichenbereich ends here. Seems to be one in the same Bahnhof, so that I would want to wait for the next main signal. Neustadt Böbig. Böbig, not Böbing. Yep, I was playing some other game during the week and this crashed my drivers. And even after reinstalling them, I have a feeling that I have much more or many more stutters of that kind. Maybe all the shaders need to be calculated anew. Do I have a picture of Böbig? Böbig. Only that. With the biggest checkerboard that there is. No, that is later. This is already the avoider at Schifferstadt. But I made a video of those two weird EL2 boards that even Ronnie did not have an explanation for. Starting with 50. And we stop at Hassloch. Hassloch is a nice German name, and a hate hole, yeah? Isn't that station name a swear word? It is at least very close to one, I should say. But you actually find that in quite a lot of German names, this Hass, Hassfurt, Hasslach, Hassloch. Phonetically similar. Yeah. Inspector says, if I were a train guard, I would speak the name like a Rammstein just for fun. Hass. Hass. Hassloch. Hass. Hass. Hassloch. Much hate down there in the southern regions, yeah. A lot of hate. But we are probably doing injustice to the great people of Hassloch in the Pfalz. Here again our EL2. We can close the main circuit breaker, even if it was never opened. And we can close it again, even if it was never opened. Spectre says, okay, then I would have to find a new job, but still. Oh. We're not stopping in Hassloch today. For reason of its own. I'm sorry. Let's make an announcement that the only person who can properly pronounce the name Hassloch in the Pfalz has been sacked, so we can't stop there. Next stop is Böhl-Iggelheim. From Haidhul to Mannheim via Schippertown. What a journey is. Oh, and I'm going way beyond the speed limit because my train can only go 140. By the way, well, can't remember when I last played that erratically, but this is why you should never put someone on a 10 hours plus shift. I mean, that sounded quite normal for Germans at the radar. Yeah, well, the German language is sometimes really charming in its harshness. So, now we are actually stopping at Böhl-Iggelheim. Even if we're still a bit fast. We're much too fast, why are we not slowing down faster? But it should still be good for the platform at any rate. Böhl-Iggelheim. Here we are, guys. You can walk back to Hassloch if you want. And Schippertown for Schifferstadt is also the more friendly translation. If you follow suit with the other translations, then you could also translate it to Pissertown. Is there any ICE service or LZB section on this route? Asks City Radar. There is an ICE service, but there is no LZB section. Actually, driving the ICEs on this station on this route is quite nice, but there is no LZB. Okay, I delete this from my stream wishlist. You can do that. But we're not going to Schifferstadt anyway. This is the avoider. My train actually went to the right here and stopped at Schifferstadt. And Spectre says, in particular, there is an afternoon-evening run in an ICET, which is nice, true. There is also one where you are bound to Spad if you don't know what is coming up to you when you're starting from Mannheim and going out, and there is one of those signals with a reduced braking distance that is all of a sudden yellow, and you can't ever manage to stop in time. One of the later ones, I think. This is the Schifferstadt here, by the way. We don't get there in the game, and then it's already Limburgerhof, where we will pass through in the game still. But we're not stopping. It's the one with this bright blue staircase roof. Spectre says, I heard that virtually all of Limburgerhof is occupied by a famous German chemicals company from not so far away. Is that so? I have no idea what happens at Limburgerhof. The blue roof definitely looks very chemical. I think lots of administration there, I see. Oh, come on. Stuttery, stuttery. So we're on the fast track here. To the right is the slow track that I was on earlier today. Because we stopped at Limburgerhof, but we did not stop at, what was it, Mundenheim and so. What? Oh no! The stuttery stuttery. Here, this is the Limburgerhof with a bright blue roof. It's not really that bright in real life. There it was, my Skyhook Nemesis. Oh, you're 187. I did not actually pay attention. Sometime I must make a stream running the 187. When discussing the trucks family, maybe. Nah, probably not. Even though it is one of the few locomotives that I've never featured in any stream so far. So we're not stopping here. Those stations, I think I only saw them. I did not manage to take a picture of them. Those here, Rheingönheim, and the other one is Mundenheim. And those two station buildings look quite similar. I have to figure out how those tiger paws work, and then I can make a 107 deep dive. Yes, you can do that. Well, I don't know if there is anything to know about how they work. You should just amass them from watching, and then you can redeem. Slow down to 13. +1 on the deep dive. Tiger, I'll watch the rest on YouTube. I feel sleepy at the moment. Have a nice night, Theodoros. We're already almost home. At least if the starters let me. This is so annoying. Mundenheim here. Here we go again, 187. So will I get a third penalty break in the evening here? Because I can't see if I'm applying enough brakes, if there is so much stutter. No, I'm not getting one. That's good. But I have to slow down even more, since the signal where I have to stop is already incoming around the corner. So come on, slow me down. You made the 60 in case we get a 500 hertz. So this picture here is quite what it looks like in real life, but in real life you also have those white, black and yellow Mireos. Now the signal cleared. This is where we're not getting a 500 hertz. And I think Ludwigshafen is really an interesting station, architecture-wise, like where the tracks are and how intertwined everything is. Yes, Spectre, the sad thing about the 187 is that it could actually be a great loco if it had correct lighting, sounds, interior, etc. Yes. And if it would let you switch the GPR selector. And we're missing the tracks 3 in the game. I was always hoping that we might get the 147 maybe, to make up for the somehow underperforming 187. So, this is actually this curvy platform where I stopped this morning. Perny, long time no see. Great to have you on the stream. I hope you're doing well. So, and here I was actually walking around to find those places and to understand how the station here works in real life. And it is interesting that they have those really wide ramps where you can even drive with whatever golf cars or other cars. This is not only for passengers to walk around, but it gets you to this maintenance facility that is over there. And you could drive through those thingies with a car. Actually, there is a building missing. Well, just let me show you the pictures. You're doing well, this is great to hear. So Limburgerhof, and then this is where we just got off the train, and so did I get off the train, so a bit more overcast and grey in real life, but this is what happened when I was approaching Mannheim. Then this is obviously this tower-like structure that does not hold any railway installation, but the road for the cars. Front you can see one of those lines that are connecting. Here once more with one of those signals that require you to go 60 when they are clear. This is actually down there in those underpasses. You can see that they have markings like stop on the floor, what you usually only need if there are cars driving around. For passengers or people on foot, for pedestrians, it is a bit overdone to have stop markers here. And here, this thing is actually missing in the game. This house, this building. Maybe it is supposed to be this one here. Especially with this mural. Then in the real life I spawned some two Baureihe 294s, since those are the deluxe locomotives in the upcoming Train Sim World 6. And I had a bit of a closer look at those two. You can see this yellow thing for easier coupling, to have some automatic coupling when you do the shunting. Even Vor, so nice to see you again. Just when we're doing more comparison of real life pictures with the in-game content. Here is where the two 294s are put together. You can see they are not coupled, but they are just standing there. Here I tried to get a bit of the cap through the window. This is the brake marking. And other inscriptions, and there are already... Did I not take a picture of the shoes? Maybe not. Or I just turned around. No, there is more. They are by Conrail, by the way, right? It's funny. It's not to be confused with Conrail with a C. Here are some scotches that you can put underneath the wheels so that they don't run away. You can see that you actually can connect something with the refueling machine that appears to be able to recognize the locomotive. Fahrzeugerkennung zum Tanken, so vehicle recognition for refueling. And here you can put the device that stops the refueling process when the tank is full. And a Juniper 187, 186, and those in the game these are similar trucks locus, right? I am not quite sure. I think the 186 that we have in Simrail, for example, is from the Trucks 2 Evolution series. So the Trucks 2E, whereas the 187 is considered. Did someone say Simrail? Yeah. Is considered a Trucks 3 locomotive, actually. Yeah, we have Perny back, and we get Simrail content. That one is actually nice. You can see the ZP9 signal on many platforms. It can be lit. Dead rail. Teda. So. Well, I'm too spent for linguistics today. This is underneath those bluish roofs. You can see part of the ramp. First this ramp where we actually have a rail track on it. This one, this greenish one. So there is one track on some freight services. You can drive your train across this rail. And then the other one is for the cars. And underneath here, you have more or less this view. Well, got to get a bit. Oh yeah, I had it on all the time. Yeah, this is in the game where we are. You have a lot of murals in this area, and this is, now I can actually put it next to each other. This part here, where the trains to Mainz vanish underneath the bridges. And here again, one of those super wide ramps to vanish under. Let's see if this is actually a super wide ramp here. And yeah, it is actually a, nah, not so super wide. But at any rate, it is a ramp. Juniper, interesting station with the crisscross tracks. Yeah, that's what I thought. This is really an interesting station. And then you walk as a pedestrian. You walk in here. Let's take the picture out of the way so that you can see where you walk in. Right? You are here, and then you walk in here, and you can go upstairs, and then you are on this part of the tracks. Here. With those VR0 repeaters. And this is where I switched my train actually and waited for the S6 to take me to Mannheim. And if you look down again, then you see all those ramps and this crisscrossing going on. Actually, here in the game, you have a bit of a hard time looking through those glasses, but in real life, you can see that better. And there are at least 3 ramps to go from Mannheim towards Kaiserslautern. You have this one that leads into the freight yard. Then you have that one that dives underneath, but that is already to the other side, I think. Yeah, see? That branches off to the right, and then you go underneath. And at this point, then it forks into 2 tracks. And obviously, you can go the line on the far right. There's even 2 lines in and out. And the main line goes to the part of the station that we just looked at. So I think this is really interesting as a layout. Can we see here? Yeah, you can see this. This actually looks impressive in real life with this street or road bridge on top. So it's about this view in the game. Yep. And then finally my train came. Here we can see the ramp again. Opposite direction again. And those are the trains that work the S6 services. A Siemens Mireo 463. Also a train that we are missing in the game so far. From 2018, so I think it's okay not to have it in this route. But they belong here, and this is already Mitte. So let's go back to the game. Now I crashed the game somehow. Ah, no, it took a while. Took a while. I take the picture out of the game again. Also a thing where you can say in the game everything looks so pristine, and in real life it looks a bit more run down. Gives us the opportunity to look at this crisscrossing again. So here are the 2 lines that go on the far right. This is the line that branches off to the right and dives underneath and then branches into 2 again. Those are the lines where I said that the trains to Mainz are going. And here obviously this 1 line where you can go from the freight yard to the lines to Mannheim. And those 4 lines are the ones on top of the bridge where the S6 is operating. More or less just 1 junction and all the connectors. But still complicated enough to put it into 3D. Alright, I'm aware that I'm in the starting program. I can see the repeater, but that does not mean that I have seen that I can go faster than 30. I need my main signal for that, I guess. So, approaching Mitte. This high rise to the right is also a quite banged up building in real life. And here in the game, all the panes of this roof construction are pristinely clean. Almost looks like one of those Art Deco models of domed structures. Yeah. And here I actually hopped out of the train to take a picture about at this position here. To see how that really looks in real life. And you don't see it so much in the picture, but those panes are really dirty, and I think it is really difficult to get all the grime of those panes, especially on the outside. Very nice thump, yeah. That was because I was really jumping out picture and in again. Can see the action and not exactly sure if it is a thumb or whatever finger it is. At any rate, it is one of my fingers that came into the picture. You can see the yellow white of the Siemens Mireo train at this point. And then, yep, we were going across the bridge where we will just go across in the game now and then arrive at Mannheim. You can see this, castle style building here. Actually wanted to look it up, but I forgot. And then we will get to Mannheim, and this building of the LBBW is in the game as well, if I remember correctly. Again, starting with the starting program, because we passed the VR0 before we stopped. Not releasing, because we actually are getting a new 1000 Hertz here at this VR2 with the ZS3B. At least I thought we would get one. And that was the view that we had on those pictures. Along the Rhine. Let's see if we get one here. Where we are limited to 60, but have to acknowledge the VR0. Now we got one, so good thing that we did not accelerate beyond the 40. Here to the right, the LBBV building. And I wish I could just reset my drivers to what they did before without all this stuttering. We will see how that can be done properly. When I have to do all the recording for Trains in World 6 next week. But I will take it from there. 500 Hertz feeling. So, yeah. That's always the great thing if you try out new games and then they crash your drivers and then everything does not work the way that you are used to. Guys, here we are at Mannheim. This was my last picture here. This building. Definitely recognizable. Are there any more pictures? I don't know. This is again Kaiserslautern. We got through the service. We got through my pictures. Those are my teeth from the inside, if someone wondered. And yeah, look at my erratic driving today. I did not even give me a platinum medal today. Anyway, thank you guys for staying with me. That was the stream today after 10 hours on the rails and then 2 hours more on the virtual rails. That was probably the last stream in Train Sim World 5, and starting next week we will be digging into all the new stuff and the old stuff that comes with Train Sim World 6. Again, thank you so much for your support and for staying with me today. Have the greatest of weeks and see you soon. Cool, the Spectre, thanks a lot for the stream. Thank you guys. And see you soon. Bye bye. Farewell. Train Sim World 5. The city that. Yes, that's what it is. Bye bye.